1, 2, 1, 2. All right, we're live.
Look at that whole production.
So behind me, behind me is Goliath. Behind me is the occupying force that is CNN. And we are what you would call the have-nots here at the Detroit Democratic presidential debate. However, we are moving up slightly. So in the Miami debate, you know what? Let me wait just a few minutes for some more people to sign on here. We want to make sure that we have an audience here from the beginning. Behind me is the Fox Theater, where the CNN Democratic debate will be. Right there is CNN's little set where they've been going all day, like it's a college game day. I heard them start off today saying it's game day, which is pretty much the problem with all news coverage in America. I want to wait till we get a few more people before I go into my whole spiel. All right, we got 60 people watching. Remember, press that like button. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see the live stream. And to answer your question, the debate starts at 8 o'clock Eastern time. So here's the deal. For those of you diehard status quo fans, you remember we went down to Miami for the Democratic debate there without any press credentials to get inside. We said, you know what? They don't need to give us press credentials. We're going to cover what's happening outside with the people in the street. So when we applied for CNN, we weren't really expecting anything, to tell you the truth. But ironically, what CNN did was basically give us credentials to the parking lot here. So we have credentials. This is what they call Media Row. Media Row is where the media, I guess, broadcasts.
So, that's the elite.
And this is the elite media behind us. So CNN is live right now with all their pundits, pontificating about who's more electable, talking about poll numbers, even though they cherry pick all the polls to elevate the establishment and knock down progressives like Bernie Sanders. But essentially, it's not even like we got a little tent where we can broadcast from, where we could book guests and stuff like that. We just got a badge to enter the parking lot, essentially, which is kind of ironic.
We had to bring our own tent.
Oh, we had to bring our own tent? Is that it? Oh. Yeah, I guess we're not equipped for that. We're not there yet. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. We're going to broadcast what's going on. So Detroit, obviously the second debate is tonight. You got Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, Marianne Williamson, a bunch of lower level people tonight. Tomorrow is the overwhelming establishment contest. You got Joe Biden. You got Kamala Harris, who just released a health care plan that is not Medicare for all. As I told you months and months ago, she's going to moonwalk faster than Michael Jackson away from Medicare for all because her donors, i.e. Hillary Clinton's donors, said her, no. You're not getting rid of Medicare. You're not getting rid of private insurance. You could talk progressive, Miss Harris, but you're certainly not doing a single payer system and taking our money. And Kamala Harris has delivered, so we'll get into that a little bit. It is very, very hot out. I'm just going to keep it real. I am schwitzing. So what you can do for me to make me a little cooler, smash that like button, smash it into smithereens. You got Ty behind the camera showing you right now. That's MSNBC's setup. I think we got Spectrum, which is a pretty terrible news monopoly that's unfortunately driving up cable packages. But for most of you, you don't even have cable. So that's fantastic. So I wanted to draw this contrast. You got CNN behind me. Oh, now we're at 127 viewers. So remember, press the like button. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this live stream. So let me first tell you what we're thinking of, because we're always kind of just taking things on the fly. There's a big climate march here at around 4 o'clock Eastern that we're definitely going to go to. It is kind of being branded as making Detroit the engine of a Green New Deal. Obviously, if you know American history a little bit, Detroit was once the engine of the automobile industry, manufacturing, a lot of the great migration from the South, where African Americans came up to Detroit and Flint because they could get good union jobs working in automobile factories. That, of course, is no more, thanks to a lot of the folks on stage today and the ideology they embrace. So what we're doing here, we wanted to come out because we had credentials to Media Row and see what do we get for our Media Row credentials. Essentially, right. We tried to get into the haves section, the elite media, but they were basically like, they were basically like, no, the kiddie table's over there. But we're not even at the kiddie table. We are at literally, we're in the parking lot. We got credentials to the parking lot here at the Democratic debate in Detroit. So we're moving up. And one day we're probably going to be hosting the debates because the media revolution is going to take off and these people will be begging, I tell you, to buy out status quo because we're such a thorn in their behind. So remember, press the like button. This is also a super chat. So if you want to, contribute that way, it's expensive. This trip is costing us probably $2,000 to $2,500 between hotel, flights, rent a car, all that. So we're going to cover the climate march in a little bit. We're also going to go to some of the watch parties for Bernie Sanders, probably Tulsi Gabbard tomorrow. We got denied to go into the spin room, which is essentially the room after the debate. If you remember in 2016, I interviewed, we're behind the bush. If you remember in 2016, I interviewed Donna Brazile in the spin room. That is essentially a synonym for the lying room. That's where Democratic Party operatives, campaign officials go to lie. So naturally, MSNBC and now CNN denied us access to that because they know who we are. They know that figuratively, not literally, we're going to clobber Joe Biden's people over the head with a 2x4. Same thing for Kamala Harris. Same thing with Mayor Pete. Frankly, I think Elizabeth Warren has some answering to do on some things, so they don't want to give us access. But we don't need access. We're going to be out here, and we're going to make it up as we go along. So what I wanted to tell you, there is CNN Live behind us, and I wanted to draw this contrast. You see the bush right here. There's also a gate that's walling us off. I wanted to draw this contrast. Thank you, Jedi Mullet, $5 in the super chat. That CNN banner should say Corporate Choice 2020. You better believe it. So when I turned on television this morning, I turned on CNN, and literally, they started with, it's game day. I don't know if any of you watch, we got a Trump supporter here. There you are. I love President Trump. Hey, I want to come over and interview you after this. Is that okay? Okay. So we got, this is like a Home Improvement where the neighbor was behind the thing. So there's a Trump supporter. So I start this morning and CNN starts with it's game day, like it's a college football game. And they have a bunch of pundits on that literally never go talk to anyone other than their fellow lobbyists, their fellow colleagues at think tanks, their fellow colleagues from the corporations, from the military, this and that. All of these pundits are essentially paid to spin information in favor of keeping the status quo economic system in America. The majority of these pundits on TV are not like progressive Bernie Sanders people. They are former Obama people, Republicans, Democratic Party establishment people that either worked for Obama or worked for the Clintons. This is who CNN brings on, and it's by design. So I saw this morning that CNN had some folks on to basically spin that Elizabeth Warren has passed Bernie Sanders. And I said, that's shocking because, that's surprising. I do this for a living and I look at the polls every day. And just 3 polls came out today. 3 polls came out today that show Bernie Sanders is in a solid second place behind Joe union guy, fake union guy, Biden. So I said, what are they smoking that they're saying Elizabeth Warren is leading Bernie Sanders? But this is all part of the narrative, because really what CNN is doing is not news. What they're doing is glorified campaign public relations. Manufacturing consent. It's not for one specific campaign. It's for one specific team, and that is the Democratic Party establishment. Of course, MSNBC does this as well. And, MSNBC is over there, so I hope they're watching too. So they're saying Elizabeth Warren is leading Bernie Sanders, but if you look at all of the polls, especially the new ones, Bernie Sanders is in a strong strong second place. And then CNN shows a Quinnipiac poll, and it shows like a graph, and it shows Elizabeth Warren going up among very liberal voters, and Bernie Sanders going kind of like, kind of the line is flat, flat, and then slightly down. What they don't tell you is what's the ages of those they are polling. What they don't tell you is very liberal voters typically is what they call traditional Democratic Party voters. Yes, Elizabeth Warren is doing better among traditional Democratic Party voters. She's also doing better among those over the age of 65 than Bernie Sanders. She's also doing better among those with a postgraduate degree, meaning master's degree, doctorate degrees, all that. What they fail to mention, including the 3 polls out just today that show Bernie Sanders is in a steady second place, is that Bernie Sanders is doing way better among ages 18 to 29, a little age group that you need to win a presidential election. He's also doing better, surprisingly, contrary to the narrative they've painted over there, among African Americans than Elizabeth Warren. He's also doing better among Latinos against Elizabeth Warren. He's also doing better among those without a college degree, meaning those with a high school degree, i.e., Trump's base. We keep hearing who's the most electable to beat Trump right here in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Call me common sense. I think the most electable person would be the one that could pull away and pluck away at some of Trump's voters. So that was one narrative CNN was feeding this morning, that Elizabeth Warren has surpassed Bernie Sanders. They made it seem like, oh, well, Bernie really needs to attack her more than Warren needs to attack him.
You hear that?
It's a concert here.
Hey.
They're trying to drown us out with the tunes. Anyway, so what I find amazing about that is, of course, the polls don't show Elizabeth Warren has taken Bernie Sanders' spot at second place. The polls show she has done better than in the beginning of the campaign, but they still show her in the majority of polls at 15%, 13%, 11%, in some cases 10 or 9%. That's not surpassing Bernie Sanders. But of course, in my opinion, and remember, we got 330 people watching. We need all of you. Smash that like button. If you're watching on your phone, real quick, just press the X button in the live chat, and then smash the like button, and then go back. And there's a method to the madness. I'm going to tell you where I'm going. But as you can see, CNN is in their air-conditioned little studio. I told Ty before we went live, they're like an occupying force here. I mean, they've taken over this whole entire section.
You have Bakari Sellers over there.
Oh, Bakari Sellers, who's a Kamala guy. Yes.
What's the lady, the lawyer, light-skinned lady, black?
I don't know.
Yeah, you know her. Damn, I can't think of her name. Shoot.
Anyway, so remember to smash that like button. This is a super chat. Of course, if you're not a Status Quo member, that is how we're growing, and that's how we're funding our trips to Miami, Detroit. Ty is actually coming back with me after this. He's moved to New York permanently. So we're going to be covering a lot more of the campaign. And if you want to do it for pity, become a member for pity. Ty, how am I walking today?
You walking like you got a stick in your ass. I think something wrong with your back.
Yes, I've screwed up my back, and I'm limping. I'm limping like a 90-year-old. So become.
They got the Biden supporters.
Yeah. So there's also supporters over there. Not a lot, but there's some Biden supporters, some Trump supporters. So we're going to go around, hopefully later, and interview some of them. Unlike MSNBC's debate, it looks like CNN has not, quarantine. At MSNBC's debate, the DNC kind of quarantined the supporters holding signs. The press could not approach them and ask questions. I would have loved to ask Joe Biden's people some questions, maybe about him just doing an ad, basically, that if you didn't know, it was literally no different than a healthcare lobbyist ad or a healthcare industry ad. He had some poor woman who probably didn't know he was taking advantage of her, talking about, oh, Vice President Biden, I just don't want to lose my private health insurance. I've worked my whole life for the opportunity to pay for this out-of-control healthcare plan. It really was a shameful ad. So hopefully I'm going to ask them about that. But the other element of what CNN is doing, which is completely disingenuous, it's not factual It's not factual at all, actually. And in other parts of the world, they call that lying. You keep hearing on CNN this narrative, particularly among the pundits. So you have David Axelrod, Obama's former senior advisor, on. You have, whether it be Jeff Zeleny, who's a reporter there. You have, obviously, who's the woman who's always on there? Ana Navarro. You have
Republican guy that always.
Yeah, you have the lobbyist who's bald that's always on there. You have Jennifer Granholm, who used to be governor of Michigan and didn't do a damn thing for Detroit or Flint. So what they're trying to do is push this not factual thing that I don't know if those moderate voters in the Midwest, will go for a Bernie Sanders. Those moderate voters are more attractive to someone like a Joe Biden. Well, if that's the case, why is Donald Trump president? If these are moderate voters in the Midwest, if Michigan is a bunch of moderate voters who don't want any progressive policies, don't want a Green New Deal, don't want health care, don't want free education, don't want an end to the wars, they just want your incrementalist, give us crumbs, bullshit. Oh, demonetized. Super chat, swear jar. If the Midwest is moderate, why is Hillary Clinton not President Clinton right now? Because if you look at the exit polls, none of these people, maybe they have, but they're just ignoring it. Because again, CNN is essentially, so is MSNBC, a 24/7 super PAC ad against Bernie Sanders. All they are doing is cherry picking information, deceiving about information, distorting information, or straight up making up information. So let me explain the Midwest for you, because I had the fortune, when I was at the Young Turks, of covering the campaign from Wisconsin to Michigan to Pennsylvania to Ohio. I was in Illinois quite a bit. The Midwest is not so moderate. Donald Trump was proposing economically, wait for it, progressive policies. You see, I'm schwitzing? Smash the like button, I'm schwitzing. But Donald Trump said on the campaign trail, it's not such a Republican thing, but we got to cover everybody. Universal health care for everybody. Donald Trump said, enough with these wars. We're spending trillions and trillions of dollars on these wars. We got to get out. CNN hasn't covered that in the last 3 months, he sent 2,000 troops to the Middle East to fight Iran, because we got to fight Iran. This has been the fear-mongering and the BS coming from the Trump administration, i.e. John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, et cetera, et cetera. So we got to fight Iran. 2,000 troops have gone to the Middle East in the last 2 months. Not a mention on CNN, MSNBC, barely crickets in the New York Times. So I was at these rallies. He also got them on trade, Trade. You know what trade is? If you're watching in Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and many other states, it's not just the Rust Belt. There was something called NAFTA. I know I'm talking to you like you don't know. That literally took a gigantic gas canister and just exploded it across the Rust Belt. That is why a lot of these cities, from Detroit, yesterday we were like, oh man, this looks no different than parts we go in Flint. They look like an episode of The Walking Dead. There's no life in these cities. There's life in 10 to 15 block radiuses that have been beautified. Those 10 to 15, like this area, those are the 10 to 15 blocks CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times and Politico hang. They don't particularly like to go and hang, on...
The Negroes.
Well, you said it, the Negroes, but there's a lot of poor white people now in Flint and Detroit too. So they keep pushing this notion that Joe Biden is the most electable. But like I told you in January, when Kamala Harris came out and she said, I'm for Medicare for all, when they asked her in the CNN town hall, that by the way, they gave her 24 hours after she announced. By the way, AT&T, CNN's parent company, has donated $53,000 to Kamala Harris. No conflict. That would be CNN over there. Anyway, what Kamala Harris was saying I knew wasn't true, because she's getting money from Wall Street and Hillary Clinton's posse. She's not doing Medicare for all. She was going to moonwalk. Well, what do you think's going to happen? Let's say Joe Biden does well tomorrow night, because he's in the second night of the festivities, or as CNN calls it, game day, because of course this is all theater. They don't give a damn about policy. They don't care which one's going to actually help the masses. They just want ratings. They want to make it a conflict. They're basically hoping and praying that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren will joust like American gladiators tonight, which is probably not going to happen. We'll get to that a little bit later. And sorry, I'm schwitzing. It's very hot out here, but we do this for you. So what they are leaving out, Joe Biden not only voted for NAFTA, Joe Biden was pushing the TPP in 2016. Hillary Clinton called TPP the gold standard in 2011. TPP and NAFTA was a huge reason Hillary Clinton lost. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Rachel Maddow. Sorry to disappoint you, my friends at the Young Turks. It wasn't Putin. It was not Putin standing with a machete over those voters in the voting booth in Michigan. It was NAFTA, TPP, and Trump was proposing economically progressive populist legislation. Obviously, he didn't mean it, but that's what he came off as. So they keep spinning that only moderates could win back these Trump voters. But these Trump voters are not moderates. There's no such thing as a moderate Republican anymore. They're either totally ignorant and idiots and shouldn't be paid to analyze politics, or they're deliberately lying. It's one or the other. Because when you go down the list of these policies, let me see what we're at here. When you go down the list of these policies, from Medicare for all, from free public college, to a Green New Deal, to raising the minimum wage at $15, which, by the way, is not even a living wage. $15 is barely enough to make it, and most people are making 10, 11, okay? When you go down the list, canceling student debt. When you go down the list, making prescription drugs cheaper, raising taxes on the wealthy. I could go on and on. They're not just wildly popular among the Democratic Party. They're not just wildly popular among the independents, which you need to win an election. They're wildly popular now. I wouldn't say wildly, but they have majority support among Republicans. But we keep hearing we need, a Bill Clinton type of candidate to take out Donald Trump. We keep hearing we need a return to like an Obama centrist. Well, that's who we ran in 2016, and they lost. And we're still forgetting that the most well-funded, the one with the most built-in advantages of any candidate, maybe in the 21st century, lost to somebody who was a host of The Celebrity Apprentice 4 years prior. Like, I think that's kind of forgotten. So we think somebody like Joe Biden, who could barely stay awake during a presidential debate. I'm not trying to be an ageist, but he didn't look so hot. We think somebody like Joe Biden, who Jen and I get the alerts every day, what Joe Biden is doing on the campaign trail, Joe Biden is meeting with advisors. He's barely campaigning.
Joe Biden is getting out of his car.
Joe Biden is getting out of his car. We think Joe Biden, who literally has pretty much no policies other than make America, America again. His healthcare policy is not even a real public option, but it just keeps the insane, corrupt, for-profit system in place, all under the guise of we want Americans to have choice. The problem with that is Americans currently with private health insurance, the majority don't have choice because they can't afford most of their bills. So that's not choice. Then you have Kamala Harris, who now put forward a Medicare, it's called Medicare for All legislation, but it's not Medicare for All because it basically is not a government system. It is a system where private health insurers are going to somehow come into the Medicare program. That's them coming for Joe Biden. So we have a system where they're going to have, she's proposing where private health insurers will offer plans on the Medicare exchange. It doesn't even make sense to me. And they will model it after Medicare Advantage, which is currently a system where there are lower costs, but it's very rigid among the doctors you could see, the hospitals you could go to. So she's trying again, like Obama, to have it both ways and to offer a system that's basically mostly private. The private health insurer industry is still in the driver's seat. It's not a government program. So you could call it what you want. You can call it Medicare for All, Call it whatever you want. It's not Medicare for all. It's not a government system, and it's emboldening private health insurers to, again, run the marketplace. And she says, well, it would be tightly controlled and tightly regulated by the government. Please, just like the regulators were regulating the banks before the 2008 crash, just like the antitrust regulators and the regulators who are supposed to stop monopolies are currently regulating. This is my issue in part with Elizabeth Warren, who, to be clear, Elizabeth Warren is not Joe Biden. She's not Kamala Harris. I know a lot of you think she's a fake and all that stuff. We got to be real. She's not as bad as them. But the problem is you cannot fix a systemic problem, cannot fix a systemically corrupt system by regulating that system. Regulation is not in itself the answer. You have to fight the system. And what I see as the main difference between Warren and Bernie, I think, A, these people that say there's not stark policy differences, there is. She's talking about a student debt plan that would get up to, I think, $75,000 to $100,000. Bernie's saying wipe it all out, okay? Her Medicare for all, she's kind of hemmed and hawed on Medicare for all. She's for Bernie's plan, but there's other ways to get there and blah, blah, blah. She has said things like, we got to get everybody at the table. Like, give me a break, everybody at the table, because that's worked out so well. This is coded language for I'm flexible. Well, the problem is we've had too many flexible politicians because they're flexible based on the special interest, based on the lobbyists. Currently, Elizabeth Warren is not taking Wall Street money. She's not taking big special interest money. However, she has indicated if she becomes the nominee, she's not going to, quote, unilaterally disarm, and she's going to take corporate money. Well, the problem with that, if you start making mini rationalizations in your mind now, well, I got to do it now, but I won't do it later. That's a slippery slope, and most politicians start off. You know, it would be like status quo, right? A CNN person coming up to us and be like, why didn't you come in our air conditioning tent? Why don't you come in our air conditioning tent and maybe we could have you on, but we're only going to talk about X. You cannot talk about Y, and if you get out of line, we're going to bar you forever. That's equivalent because it's hot. I would like an air conditioning tent right now. I'd love some water. I'm limping. It's not fun. However, we wouldn't do that because then we'd be selling out. So really what you have is CNN. And it's interesting, Bernie Sanders' campaign manager, Fez Shakir, who's very, very strong, he should be doing more TV interviews because he is honestly, in some cases, coming across more specific and feistier than Bernie himself. But he was on this morning, and again, the anchor is just using cherry-picked polls to say majority of Americans are not for socialist programs. And Fez kept pointing out, which they never want to point out, well, there's a candidate named Bernie Sanders. He is polling, he's beating Trump in every poll since 2016. So you could put up all the polls you want that Americans are scared of generic socialism, but they're not scared of Bernie Sanders because he's not generic, he's the real thing. And they're not scared of him. So right now, for being fair, Joe Biden is leading. I think a lot of that's name recognition. I think a lot of that is because he has literally for dear life embraced Barack Obama. Like he tweets out their BFF bracelets together. And, you know, he's being smart. There's a lot of African Americans who love Barack Obama. One of them got very pissed off at me yesterday because I said, what's Obama done for Detroit? I mean, he did bail out the auto industry. That's fair.
That's older black people. My mother's the same way. My aunt, she's the same way. We argue when I say something about Obama. And she really don't think I love him, and I do. But that's why I criticize him. But, yeah, you can't talk about Obama in front of black people, man. You know that.
So that's the deal. The debate tonight, I don't want to do like a horse race thing. I don't think Bernie Sanders is going to joust with Elizabeth Warren. I don't think it benefits him. I don't think it benefits her. I think what Bernie Sanders needs to do is, without really like attacking her, he needs to make clear that he's the candidate who has been consistently fighting for these things his whole entire adult life, which is subtly, she was a Republican until 1995, okay? He is the candidate that has a movement behind him. He is the candidate with over 1 million volunteers. Because like he says, it's not enough to get elected president. If you're elected president, do you have an army behind you that is then going to apply a inferno up the asses of not only Mitch McConnell, if he's still the Senate majority leader, but Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party establishment. You think the Democratic Party establishment is just going to, Bernie Sanders is going to become president and they're going to have a luncheon and be like, Bernie, we were with you all along? No, they're going to fight just as hard as Mitch McConnell because it's about the money, Lebowski. It's about the money. They don't want to give up the money. So that is why.
I think also I think that Democrats are going to fight. The fight that they're going to have against Bernie is going to be equivalent to the fight the Republicans had against Obama when he first came into office, saying we're not going to allow anything to pass through the Senate or the House. And also, if you look at people's actions, their actions speaks more than anything. Elizabeth Warren, in addition to her being, a Republican, also just recently she endorsed Hillary Clinton. When she said she had the views and they were populist like Bernie, she endorsed Hillary Clinton. And then when Standing Rock happened, when she claimed that she was Native American, she didn't say anything about it until Barack Obama said something. That was after December 12th, which was like almost a month after they were sprayed with water hose and hit with rubber bullets. So she seems like opportunistic. I don't know.
And apologies if I'm missing super chats. I'd love to read all your super chats, but my phone is overheated. And when I hold my phone, it's like melting my hand. So I love you in the super chats. Keep it coming. And for the 560 of you watching, I have something to ask you. Okay, I have something to ask you. Okay, I don't want to make it about me, but right now I got to make it about me. I'm not feeling great. Okay, I had back surgery in May. I've already fucked up my back because I'm reporting in the field, covering the stories no one else is. I can't get into full details. Yes, I can't get into full details. Ty and I had 2 meetings yesterday pertaining to the Flint water crisis. Honestly, particularly the second meeting, wow.
The Attorney General's office.
We're doing investigative reporting. It doesn't immediately yield like, let's go viral, let's go up 20,000, 30,000 subscribers, but we're doing in the field reporting. You don't always see it, but trust me, once we're done with this story, you and the rest of them are going to feel it. And what I also want to I was getting to this. What you could do for me, if you're not a status quo member, just think about it for a second, okay? Membership is a way we stay honest. There are outlets out there that say we're independent. And you know what they do? They cover Trump for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, for midnight snack, for waking up to go to the bathroom. That's all they do. Trump, 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 Trump. Russia, 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 Russia. Now it's Trump versus Elijah Cummings, Trump versus the squad. Should these things be covered sometimes? Yes. Does it need to be covered exclusively 24/7? No. And the reason they do that is simple. They're looking for immediate clicks. They're looking for immediate profit because a lot of their revenue and the way they survive is based on clicks and meeting their advertising quota, because a lot of these business models are built around advertising. We are built the exact opposite way. We are built the harder way, but the smarter way that will last longer. We are built through small dollar member subscriptions. So if you're new to us, you can become a member for as low as $5 a month. We also have a $10 plan. We also have, if you don't want to do per month, $179 annually. What that allows us to do, very simply put, is be us, be independent. We haven't taken one meeting with a plutocrat. We haven't taken one meeting or call with a corporation, a special interest, and we don't want it. So we are being funded by you. Right now, maybe it's more since I've been live, we got 641 status quo members. Our goal to get to by the end of this debate is 700. Big goal. I think we could do it. So what is that, 641?
641?
Yeah, so that's 59. We need 60 new members in the next 2 days. I think we could do it. Is real independent journalism. Again, we're going to the climate march in a little bit. We're going to cover the debate watch parties tonight. We don't need to be in there eating cake with the pundits and the bourgeoisie. We're going to be out with the people. We're going to be at a Bernie debate watch party tonight. Tomorrow, we're going to try to interview Tulsi. Well, I don't know about Tulsi because she's in the watch party. We're going to cover Tulsi's debate watch party. Had a weird, not such a great vote on this BDS stuff. We'll get to that later. We're also going to try to cover more things. There's a big immigration rally tomorrow. We also want to do interviews with local people in Detroit because CNN, in their little, large perch, their occupying force behind the bushes, You think they're going out talking to the single mother in Detroit? You think they're going out talking to the people that have no choice but to sell drugs in Detroit because there's no jobs? You think they're going out and talking to the factory worker who used to have health care, who used to have full-time work, and now is working 2 to 3 jobs? You think they're working to the person in Detroit who has to drive to Flint for work? You think they're talking to the people in Detroit who there's people in Detroit, General Motors families, who the husband has moved to Texas or other states because the plant closed down here to work and left the family behind. You think they're talking to the people? Fuck no, they're not talking to the people. We are going to be talking to the people. Even though we're in a parking lot now, we're going to talk to the people next. So, become a member, become a member, become a member. The other reason is simple. I believe we would not, status quo is not just like so we could all become millionaires. None of us are going to be millionaires, trust me. I believe that media plays a huge role in who gets elected president. I think the media is why Donald Trump got elected. I think the media is a huge reason Bernie Sanders was not the nominee in 2016. And if there is not independent media out there getting bigger and bigger, since Miami, literally 1 month ago today, since the Miami debate, well, a month and a couple days, a month ago, since Miami, we're up 15,000 YouTube subscribers. That's because we were in Miami. That's because we were on the ground. More people saw us. We had some interviews go viral. Being out in the field is how we're going to grow, but we need you to make it happen. We are seeking some funding outside from progressive entities, and we will be transparent once that happens. You're going to know who. But we need funding from the people. So become a member, statusquo.com/join. My last thing is this. What I love about, even though we don't have access, even though we can't go in the spin room, I kind of like showing the behind the scenes. I think people like seeing the behind the scenes. Because really what you have here, what you're seeing here is not really journalism. It's been presented to us as journalism, but it's not. I'm sorry if they hear me, degrade them, but that's the truth. They're not out talking to anyone. They're not out finding what's going on in the streets of Detroit. They're sitting out camping until the next 4-minute segment that bridges them to the Viagra commercial that their station is giving, or the fossil fuel commercial that their station is giving. I couldn't believe it. I was watching CNN the other day. They had a commercial for Energy Transfer Partners, the parent company, the oil company behind the Dakota Access Pipeline, the Rover Pipeline, and Trans-Pecos Pipeline, and a whole lot of other toxic pipelines. And the commercial was showing, do you want more rails and trucks, and showing explosions? And then they show like a scenic forest with hidden pipelines, and there's no issue. That's on CNN. No wonder there's no climate change debates among the DNC or on CNN. So I think media has a big role to play. Frankly, I think there's some independent outlets out there not playing their role. We're trying to fill the void. So we're going to go cover the climate march down here. I think it's like 5 minutes away, so we're going to be live again soon. Don't depend on YouTube to give you a timely notification. Unfortunately, you kind of have to check back sometimes to our YouTube page. Another great way where you could know when we're live, join our email list. Go to statusquo.com if you're not on our email list. Type in your email. It'll give you a little pop-up to type in your email, because Jen's going to email you when we're live covering the climate march and other things. The other thing, got a lot of things. Spread the word. Spread the word. Tell your friends, your family, Status Quo. We're in the parking lot. That's where they give us access to. But this is Big Brother. This is the haves over there. This is the have-nots. I hope you enjoyed my schwitzing. I hope you'll become a member. We're going to go cover the climate march. I promise you there will probably not be any national media there. Then we're going to see what else is cracking. There's a big immigration march tomorrow. We're going to try to get some interviews with Bernie's campaign, other campaigns. We'll see what happens. Statusquo.com.